Well, what I would like to say as a start, Brother Muhammad had talked to me about if I can come up with a subject for tonight's program. And I told him it's my privilege. Actually, I'll pay you anytime you tell me go ahead and prepare a subject, because that pushes me into preparing a topic. I will learn from it as much as I would like to share what I have learned. And as you would see from the talk, how much time we spend working. I mean, we pretty much, we spend our lifetime working. So I thought, and there is another motive to it. I keep looking at our countries of origin and the adopted country that we live in. How come they progress? And sometimes I feel like we are digressing in the old countries. And in addition to the wealth and the availability of raw materials and the know-how, there is something else. There is more of a dynamic that's causing the dynamic progression of the civilization, as you call it, progress of the quality of life in the West versus the East. Well, I wouldn't go all the way to the East, Near East. So I thought there must be something, and I looked at the work ethics. And of course, from the Islamic perspective, right away, you can see the Hadith and the Quran, how they define the work. They connected the work with synonymous with justice, honesty, fairness, generosity, and trust. So having said this or discovered this, I said to myself, well, let's delve into this subject and see what Islam says about the work ethic. And just to start with, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, there is a surah in the Quran, which is Surah At-Tawbah, the verse 105. It goes, وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَى اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. And say, work, so Allah will see your work, and He is the apostle and the believers. So work, at times, we don't pay too much attention to it as we read the Quran, but it's amazing how much emphasis it's put on work. So therefore, I have developed this presentation by looking at many resources, and I'll share with you the resources so you would go ahead and if you need to or you want to, you can obtain those resources, which you will see that are free of charge or for the asking, or what you have to just ask for it. So to start with, what I will share with you, before I keep going, do you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Good. So I would like to define, before we go any further, what's the meaning of ethics and what's the meaning of work. And in the same time, you'll be amazed how much time we spend working. And what does Islam teaches us about work and hard work, not only just work? And it seems like there is a close connection between faith and hard work. And here I would like to draw a parallel, not the parallel, I don't want to contrast them, but there are models that they have been used in different areas of the world. And I would like to draw a comparison between the Islamic model, the Japanese model, and I would call it the West or the US model. Then I will come up with a summary, and there is an open question that I would like to share with you that will be hopefully a possible topic for another presentation. Ethics, I looked into the ethics and I looked into what's the meaning of it, and it turned out to be, it's an ethic, it's a muted word of a Greek letter or Greek word is called ethos, which refers to values and attitude that indicates one's characters or society stance. So the ethics that makes the person and define his characters. Not only a person, at times it envelopes actually societies and communities. It's also defined as a moral philosophy that distinguishes between good and bad. And also it covers tradition and norms as accepted by societies. So it's not only defining a character and attitude of a person or society, it covers also the belief and the philosophy of that society or that person. So this is the definition of ethics. Again, in here, work, we might take it for granted, but I mean, work is well defined. It refers to either physical or mental efforts spent to produce or accomplish something. And you will see clearly by the Hadith and the Quran that in Islam, work is the highest form of worshiping Allah. And I have included in here in the definition of ethics, this reference, you can look at it if you choose to. So the question in here, how do we spend our time? And again, in here, there are a lot of references, a lot of people they come up with, but the reason I accepted it because it makes sense, it's logical. Of course, we work, we exercise. By the way, I'm putting in a plug for the exercise. It's good for the physical and mental health. We read, you take classes, you go to school, you volunteer, you network. These days, networking, probably it's overcoming most of other activities. We have hobbies, all different kind of hobbies, but and we spend times with friends and families. So on an average day, that's another conclusion that surprised me a little bit, that everybody ages 15 and above, which is like 95%, are engaged in some sort of leisure activities, such as watching TV, socializing and exercising. And men on the average, they spend more time on these activities than do women. And it seems like we spend close to 5 hours versus 5.5 hours versus 5 hours for women. So if you look at what we do in our life, it's no surprise, that's pretty much what everybody does. But the question that I'm trying to address and I'm trying to share with you is something that has an impact on not only your life, is the people around you, the community and the society and the country as a whole. So as we spend most of our time at work, it turned out on the average, we spend 90,000 hours at work over our lifetime. Imagine 90,000 hours. That's the quarter or the third of your life, where you spend close to 328 days socializing on the average. That if you don't add overtime, that we all do it either for pay or for commitment to your job. If you add, in addition, the overtime work that you put in your work, add another year and 2 months to the amount of hours you spend it working. So it's safe to say, in my opinion, your job can make a huge impact on your and others people connected to you, the quality of life. So talking about this subject, it's not haphazard. I think, in my opinion, it has a lot of impact on our life. And of course, being a Muslim of the follower of Ahlul Bayt, I was very much interested to see how our Imam, how's our Prophet, and how's our Quran had defined this work. Because if we spend so much time of our life working, surely the Quran and the Imam and the Prophet, they have thought about it, and they regulate it like they have regulated everything else. And you will see that the regulating of this activities is the most important, or it has an impact on everybody's connected to this. So what I'm saying in here, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, no man earns anything better than that which he earns by his own hands. That's a direct emphasis on work and have an activity in producing what you use. And it was many places. I mean, I can probably number a lot of them where the Quran would say, do not waste your time. You are on this earth for a reason, and do not waste your time. And not only this, as a human, we have to contribute positively to this world. They should work to make sure that the people, you and the people around you, will benefit from this work. As I said, and you will see in some of the hadiths, that the Islam had put so much emphasis on work, it's almost considered as an act of worship of Allah. And here I would like to share with you this surah, which is Surah Al-Jumu'ah. The Quran had instructed the Muslim to persistently work whenever and wherever it's available. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Disperse through the land and seek the bounty of God. Continuing with this, trying to bring the point, and Imam Ali was carrying a heavy bag at one time that was filled with date seeds. And you know, Imam Ali was a renowned farmer. And a man saw him and asked him, what's inside this heavy bag? Imam Ali replied, if Allah wishes, if you date palm trees, although he was carrying the seed, the date seeds. So as Imam Ali had complete faith in Allah and never shirked hard work, he was hoping that the plants will grow from the date seeds and they will become trees. And the most famous saying that we all probably know, work for a better life as if you live forever. وَاعْمَلْ لِآخِرَتِكَ كَأَنَّكَ تَعِيشُ أَبَدًا وَاعْمَلْ لِآخِرَتِكَ كَأَنَّكَ تَمُوتُ غَدًا. Work for a better life as you live forever, and work for better end as if you die tomorrow. So in essence, Islam orders us to work hard, having full confidence in Allah's blessing. We should rest assured that if our faith is perfect, Allah will not let our effort go in vain and will grant us success. But here it's let me add some qualifying statement in here. It's not necessary that one's effort should be rewarded immediately, and there is a reason, the law of nature and the law of the faith, that at times man has to face failure as well, and there is a good reason for it. So continuing with the faith and hard work, it is the teaching of the Holy Prophet ﷺ in the Quran when he said in وأن ليس للإنسان إلا ما سعى وأن سعيه سوف يرى. All who works is the friend of Allah, and one who does not work is considered by Allah to be his enemy. So working, it's not a proper formulation or proper formula for you to succeed. Also, working will inspire others around you, and they will become hardworking too. Now, let's get, since we have defined and briefly, and we spoke about the view of Islam and the Prophet about work, let's digress a little bit in here and try to contrast this with the other work ethic models that we are somehow exposed to. So in the US, and to a certain extent in the Western countries, the work ethics that you experience of people, or we experience ourselves, because we pretty much grew up in this society, and we learn the meaning of hard work. So it is historically, this work ethic model is based on the Protestant Calvinist model. It's primarily Protestant, but actually the Calvinists had also an impact on it. But the influence on it, what it's based on, it's based on hard work, thrift, efficiency, but in the same time, you know, they added the faith into it to add more added impetus for the people to work hard. However, in Japan, there is another, I mean, they follow their own culture, they have their own, they use another ethic model that is based on the samurai Bushido principle. And most commonly, they stress a combination of sincerity, frugality, loyalty, and martial art, and honor until death. And pretty much, we used to see people committing suicide because of transgression they had did at work. So they emphasize the honor and until death. In Islam, actually, we have similar, even we go furthermore. And Islam, the work ethics, it's affected or influenced by the relationship with our God. This includes efforts, dedication, cooperation, responsibility, social relation, and creativity. We all do this because of the pleasure of Allah and how we get closer to Allah. So whether we believe it or not, or we were aware of it or not, our religion had established an ethic models for us to work. And I can share with you a lot more details. And that's what I would like to do in the next few slides. Like, for example, here the Prophet Muhammad was presented work as the highest form of worshiping Allah. Worshiping has 70 avenues, and the best of them is the involvement in an honestly earned living. I mean, if there is nothing more than stressing the importance of honesty in work, this statement should really make it very clear. Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, he who strives to support his own family is like the one who fights for the sake of Allah. Again, in here, Imam Ali, and I took this from تفسير الكاشف للشيخ مغنية. It's amazing. Imam Ali had said, Islam is submission to Allah, and submission is certainty in faith, of course. And certainty is believing, accepting the truth. And believing is admitting, and admitting is the performance of duties. And the performance is the work. So whether the Quran or the Hadith or the A'immah, they very much emphasized how much it's important to work. And not only important to work, it's so much important to follow the principle or the model of hard work and ethics. And here I found this in one of the books. That's an amazing how to define the Islamic work or Islamic work ethics. And in it, and I'm not gonna dwell on this, but it's I'll probably try to expand on few of those attributes. Of course, one of the item, and it does not deviate from what the Quran or the Prophet or the Imam had said, work is a virtue. But in it, it will include honesty, truthfulness, halal earning, ihsan, efficient, fulfillment, self-control, and obedience. In addition, some other attributes that I will well, Ahmed as well: cooperation, discipline and punctual, dignity, justice, safety, rights, responsibility, humanity, and consultation. I mean, all those attributes put together, it's supposed to work the perfect combination to have the perfect work model for us Muslims to follow. As I said, I will not dwell on all of them, but I would like to bring some of those attributes and elaborate on it, like honesty. In the Quran, all you who believe, do not devour your property among yourselves by unfair and dishonest means. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. Truthfulness, again in here, all who you believe, be afraid of Allah and be with those who are true in words and deeds. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. You know, the word ihsan, it needed a little bit of explanation. It means perform your task precisely, rightly, correctly, and accurately. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asserted that Allah blesses a person who perfects his craft. I mean, let me stop in here, and I don't know if I personally, growing up, for example, in Beirut, although I was submerged in an environment that's totally controlled by the teaching of Ahlul Bayt, but I cannot remember at all that some of those characters were emphasized on us. So that's something lacking, and to me, as a group or a society, Jafari Union, I think we would need to drive this ethics into our youth. We have to not only bring the topic of what had happened to us in the past, which is fine. It's good to bring it up, so we'll adhere to it. But in the same time, we have an opportunity to tell people, yes, this system that you are exposed and you see every day, whether you are in the work environment or at school, you have to work hard. You have to study. You have to pay attention. At work, you have to work hard. You have to perform your task punctual, precise, right. All this not only is part of your character as a Muslim, it's what the teaching of the Prophet in the Quran, in the Ummah, had parted with us. Although we are not exposed to it as often as we should, but that's part of our character. Additionally, the self-control. The Quran said, Allah knows the fraud of the eyes and all that the breast can see. Obedience. Now, let's not use this word or explain it or understanding in negative term. It is an attribute of the believers. You who believe, obey Allah and obey the messenger and those charged with authority among you. I have probably took enough time to talk about this subject, but I would like to leave you with a few words on this. So it's imperative to instill the values of the Islamic ethics to improve the quality and efficiency of any organization, including ours. The work ethics propagated by Islam are closely linked to religious and spiritual values. Practicing Islamic work ethics will lead to better work performed by improving confidence and satisfaction levels and propagating the feeling of peace and tranquility in the workplace. Islam had outlined the guidelines to form successful cooperation between employer and workers among co-workers at the workplace. I did not elaborate on this, like that will be probably a topic for another session if we got permit. In all, as I was telling you that some of those topic, I was fortunate for a long time. I was on the mailing list of an organization called Al-Balagh Foundation, and they don't ask you for anything. They don't bother with you. They just periodically send you. I haven't, since I have moved and stuff like this, they must have lost my email or my mailing address. So I haven't received anything from them for a long time. So I don't know if they are still working or active, but I made a copy of the reference that I've taken all this information from. And in the same time, I have the address for the Balagh Foundation. And trust me, if you put your name on the mailing list, you will be highly pleased with all the information that you will get. I would like to leave this subject or this presentation with a statement that I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it will be something for us or for future speakers if we get a chance to ask somebody who's better learned, more involved, to develop this. For example, the statement that work ethics contribute to higher performance, widespread prosperity, and social welfare. I'm not going to argue. I cannot probably challenge this. Look at us in this country. You work hard, you advance, and prosperity comes to hardworking people. Now, the question in the Islamic world, I have seen it or experienced it. I don't know about your experience, but the question is, do we suffer from nepotism or workload, wage policy with diminishing work ethics? Is it leading us to a disadvantage of our competitiveness with other nations? Could we explain our lack of advance? I keep saying our, I mean, meaning the country that we came from. The first statement, it's what we are right now. And the second statement, it's what we were before. Could it be the work ethics hasn't been disseminated or emphasized hard enough or strong enough that the society that are doomed, that they do not advance. And some of the countries that they have some of the work ethics, like, I mean, without, being limited with like Malaysia, Iran, Turkey, they are advancing further than other countries. Could it be because of the work ethics? That's something I'll leave it to somebody, a professor who had been involved in this to develop this question and the answer, if God permits. With this, I think I scratched the surface of this topic, and that's all what I have to share with you.
أحسنت. صلوا